Good morning. My name is Mr. Hadlow and we are Collegium Magnum. And today we are here for the presidential debate. And the topic for today is, should the US shift away from fossil fuels and actively promote clean energy? On my left, I have the Republican Gabrielle. On my right, I have the Democrat Giovanna. So first, we will start with the Republican. So Gabrielle, you have 3 minutes to present your first arguments.
Instead of Giovanna, it's believed that there's no need to change fossil fuels from clean energy, because the main issue that is presented to do this is because it helps the global warming and the greenhouse effect. But it's not true, because these effects are not made by humans. Global warming would exist without humans. It is explained by Intercadial Pacific Oscillation, IPO, which is a phenomenon very similar to and related to El Niño y La Niña that changes the temperature of Pacific Ocean, but differently from the side above. This one has duration of almost 20 years. So when it has positive IPOs, the El Niño happens more usually. And also, the sun every year is growing, and the Earth is getting closer to the sun. And that it's also why the Earth is getting warmer, but it's all natural causes. Also, the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere is not a problem for the world temperature, because Mars has almost 95% of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and in its atmosphere, and the average of its temperature is minus 55 degrees Celsius. And the atmosphere of the Earth is only composed by almost 1% of carbon dioxide. More than that, but the carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere help the plants to grow stronger because of their photosynthesis, which uses the CO2 to make glucose. As aquariums inject carbon dioxide in their aquariums to make the plants grow faster and healthier.
Okay, thank you, Gabrielle. So now, Giovanna, you have 3 minutes to present your arguments too, up to the challenge.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be defending that the US needs to shift away from fossil fuel and actively promote clean energy, because it will save the natural resources of Earth and will help to reduce the pollution. That way, we could develop a better and safer future for our citizens. So my first evidence is that, although people believe it is more expensive to maintain green power, it is not true. According to the International Energy Agency, renewable energy is the cheapest source of energy generation, and over 75% of the onshore wind and 80% of the solar capacity will generate in the future energy at lower prices than the cheapest oil or natural gas. My second evidence is that the president of the Institute of Energy and Environmental Research stated that the US renewable energy resource base is incredibly vast, especially the wind energy and solar energy that can be generated in the country. Furthermore, these types of renewable energy can be 2.5 times more productive than fossil fuel energy. Considering that data, why do coal still being the main source of energy of US if renewable sources are better and for the environment and are more productive? My third evidence is that the US Environmental Protection Agency has the responsibility to limit the emissions of pollutants deemed harmful to human health and the environment, as stated in the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. That being said, why hadn't we already shifted from fossil fuels to clean energy? One of the most efficient ways of reducing emissions of pollutants is by substituting fossil fuels energy to clean energy, since about 29% of global warming emissions come from the electricity sector. My challenge for Gabrielle is, if you claim that global warming is not man-made, how do you explain the normal spike in CO2 emissions since the dam of the Industrial Revolution that has been increasing at an exponential rate ever since? Do you have a better explanation for this blatant correlation?
Okay, thank you, Giovanna. Now, Giovanna, you'll have 1 minute to make any rebuttals to the arguments Gabrielle made in the first case. Okay.
So my first counter-argument is about the global warming being caused by natural events. Even if it's true that global warming is caused by natural events, it doesn't mean that we can continue to use fossil fuels indiscriminately. The consequences of using this type of energy can cause the burnout of natural resources, since the generation of energy is responsible for using 11.7% of extract coal and 14.4% of natural gas. My second counterargument is about the amount of CO2 in Mars' atmosphere that does not interfere in the temperature of this planet. The CO2 is not the only component liberated by fossil fuels that influence global warming. Furthermore, your comparison between Earth and Mars is irrelevant since their atmospheres are completely different. My third counter-argument is about the CO2 in the atmosphere of Earth helping plants to grow. Although the process of photosynthesis is favored by CO2 in the atmosphere, the use of fossil fuels contributes to deforestation, which has already ended with 9,763 square kilometers of rainforest just in 2019, according to the National Institute for Space Research. That way, the CO2 of fossil fuels does not contribute to plants to grow because the market of this type of energy is contributing to the end of trees.
Okay, thank you, Giovanna. Now, Gabrielle, finally, you have 1 minute to make any rebuttals for Giovanna.
My first counter argument is about the clean energy being cheaper than the fossil fuels. The extraction of a Brent barrel was almost $30 in 2016, and this price is reducing each year because in 2014, the same barrel was $100. More than that, but to put, for example, on your home, a unique solar panel of about 330 watts, it's important, it's almost $200. And this kind of energy has to have a large place and a specific place to put it. My second counter argument is about clean energy being more productive through fossil fuels. And I agree with this point, because yes, the clean energy is most productive in the long term, but now this is not the priority. In the short term, it's not cheap and productive either. And my third counter argument is about the U.S. Environment Protection Agency that has this responsibility to limit the emissions of pollutants. It doesn't matter that the agencies try to limit it because the country doesn't agree with it. Because in 2017, the U.S. got off the Treaty of Paris, that is the biggest agreement between the countries that try to limit the gas emission.
Okay, thank you, both of you. That was a tricky one to decide. You both had good factual information, and you were quite convincing. However, I think the thing that swung it for me today was Giovanna's delivery. So on this occasion, Giovanna, I think you won. But well done anyway, Gabrielle. Thank you very much.